I'm Bob Bakert with
All
Jazz
right.
Guitar Today. We're here with Adam Hawley, or as his friends call him, Dr. Adam Hawley.
Yes,
I love
sir.
it. So you achieved your doctorate at USC, and
That's
with all that education, you decided to be a smooth jazz guitarist.
right. Well, first of all, USC just ended up being just an incredible opportunity. I'm from Oregon, so
Yeah, Portland, I believe, aren't you?
there's not a lot going on up there with in terms of the entertainment industry. And although I did tour quite a bit, if you can believe this, I was in a bluegrass band and I also had an original blues rock band, and we toured all over Oregon and Washington. But long story short, I realized I had to get into a bigger market, just to if I was going to do bigger things, basically. And
I
it
think
turned out,
LA probably qualifies as a
yeah.
bigger market.
Well, and there's a few options. There's New York, and there's
Oh
Atlanta,
yeah,
and Nashville, and Chicago. But being from Oregon, LA was not too far fetched. It's just a 2 hour flight. You can drive it in a day if you really push it. And so yeah. But I didn't realize that it's definitely a fantastic institution. But it also turned out to be an incredible place for guitar. I mean, alumni include Paul Jackson Jr., Lee Ritenour, the faculty, just incredible guitarists. Pat Kelly, Richard Smith, Steve
Bruce
Travato,
Foreman. Bruce
Bruce
Foreman.
Foreman. Yeah, I was getting to him. Don't
I'm
worry,
sorry. I'm
it was
sorry.
coming. Joe DiOrio was there when I
Yeah.
first started. Carl Verheyen. I'm leaving
Carl.
some people out. But yeah, oh, Frank Potenza. So
I just talked to Frank a couple weeks
yeah.
ago. Yeah.
So at
Hmm.
any rate, yeah, that's what got the ball rolling was getting down there and hanging out with those guys, and it was an incredible experience.
Well, I was just talking to a guy that here in Atlanta, Trammell Starks,
Yeah, of course.
and Trammell says to tell you hello.
Oh, please
Uh,
say hi for him. He lent me an amp two different times. I played it,
the Velvet
and
Note.
yeah, exactly. And they didn't have any backline. And I don't know how we were chatting on Facebook, and I mentioned something about, or maybe he probably said something first. Hey, if you need anything, and I said, well, I don't have an amp. And he said, "I'll bring one for you." I was like, "Really?" Oh man, and he did it twice. I played there twice and used his amp both times. So he's a
I
sweet.
I just got off the phone with him literally 10 minutes ago. So he said to
Wow.
make sure that I said hello to you, and we were talking about um, your playing, which we'll get to in a second. And he said, well, he can play anything. I mean,
Oh, that's
so
nice of him.
for you to tell me that I said, well, I believe that he definitely has the chops. He can do what he wants to. He chooses to play what he plays, and
Yeah.
he's got it down he's got it down to 6 charted tunes on
Yeah.
Billboard this week. That's
Oh
not too.
yeah. Well,
That's not. It's
and
not too
what's
bad.
thank you so much. And what's pretty cool right now? I don't have a song of my own on the chart. So those are all songs I was involved on the production side. So that's something
Right.
I've been doing a lot more of lately and having so much fun with it. In fact, got a really cool tune out right now. That another jazz guitarist, Blake Aaron, put out, and it features Najee, incredible saxophonist and flautist. So yeah, I'm having a
Right.
lot of fun in the studio, and that's where I'm right now. This is where I spend most of my days.
Well, your doctorate is in studio and jazz guitar.
Yeah, correct.
So it's not like you're, in some place you're not familiar with, so that makes sense. So you're engineering and producing, or mostly producing, or
Yes,
what's going
yeah.
on with
So
that?
you're exactly right. Yeah, so I'm producing and I'm also mixing, and then I'll usually play obviously the guitars, but believe it or not, keyboard was my first instrument. I started piano at 8, and then guitar at
I don't
9.
want to hear about that. For guys like me struggling still to play the guitar, I don't want to hear about keyboard being your first instrument.
Yeah,
That makes
so
me
so I
crazy.
I usually play all the keyboards as well, all the Rhodes and organ and strings, all that good
Oh
stuff,
man.
and so yeah, so I'm having a lot of fun with that right now. So I feel really fortunate because obviously the whole live touring situation is on pause, but I've been
Right.
super busy on these projects, and so it's been great, and it keeps the lights on. So
Well,
feel
it's
fortunate
really
for that.
funny. We'll get into guitar in just a minute, but Tamara Fuller from the Velvet
Yeah.
Note wanted me to say hello for her as well.
Oh, please say hello as well.
I
She's so
will.
sweet, and I definitely played there twice. I might even have played there three times, and she
I
was
know
just an
you played there
incredible
twice.
host.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was just the best. So
yeah.
yeah, definitely hope to connect with her again at some point. So
I'm on the board of advisors in that place.
okay,
That means that she calls me up once in a while, and I don't know, we talk, that
yeah,
kind of thing. But it's and she's, not to get too hung up in that, but the place is open. I
yeah,
was there last night, and it's a testament to her, and she's gutting it out, and it's very, very socially distanced.
yeah.
There's only just a few people in the building. That's all she'll let in, and we're still playing on Thursday nights. And she's got a Friday and Saturday night headliner and Sunday, and she's eking it out.
That's
And she'll
fantastic.
appreciate me saying this. She's in the kitchen. She's in the kitchen because she has a background in food,
Yeah.
and so she's back to me. Anyway, let's talk about the guitar. So,
Okay.
um, so here you are, a bluegrass player from Oregon, which
Well,
is
easy now, easy now. I was in a bluegrass band, but and by no means do I mean to speak ill. I mean, such incredible players in that genre. But I
Mhm.
got thrown into it. My guitar teacher at the time was like, "Hey, I know these kids." Believe it or not, I was the oldest person in the band. I was 14, and then we
Oh
had
wow.
a 12-year-old fiddle band slash a mandolin player, a 12-year-old banjo player, and a 13-year-old bass player. So it was trial by fire. I auditioned for them. They hired me, and we were on the road the next week. So, but
Well,
yeah,
that's well, like I said, you played rock, you played blues and the whole nine yards.
yeah,
So you and I spoke about an hour or so ago, maybe 2 hours ago, as we were coordinating getting together, and
yeah.
I went to the gym and got a workout in, and guess whose jam I had on while I was
Oh,
working out?
who's that?
That would be you,
Oh,
sir.
okay, okay.
I was listening. I was listening to your record "Escape."
Oh, I
Um,
appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, and to the top,
Hmm.
you got Song of the Year for that, huh?
Yes,
In
sir.
smooth
So
jazz.
first time that I've been so fortunate. I've had up before that song went to Song of the Year, I had five number ones on Billboard and seven overall if you count all the charts. But that song ended up being the most played song in all of the U.S. for all of 2020. So yeah, definitely feel fortunate. Huge honor.
I think it's fantastic, and when you put on when you put on Escape and you listen to track number one, and you started out with a really nice little lick, in there. I mean, it's not, it's not your mother's, smooth jazz. I mean, the thing that I admire about what you're doing, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge smooth jazz guy, okay, and but what I admire about what you're doing, and one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you, is because when you're playing your solos in that genre, I mean, you're playing. I
Oh,
mean,
thank
there's a
you.
lot of language going on. You're not, people would criticize Wes for when he was doing his smooth jazz, if you
Mm.
will, back in the day, because and he even said, that's not jazz. That's Wes talk. He said, that's not jazz. Because they would mention a couple of his tunes that he wasn't particularly fond of, but it made him what he was. But when I'm listening to your stuff, you set, it's like every other tune. You set the head, get the groove going, get the feel going. But when it comes time for you to blow, you blow. There's a lot of language going on there. Let's talk about the development of your style and kind of, how you decided to do it the way that you're doing it. Because you're definitely doing it different than everybody else. It's obvious because you differentiated yourself, and you've got all these number one records and Song of the Year, and so tell us about that process.
Yeah, well, and it's funny you mentioned Wes. I mean, he's a huge influence of mine. I transcribed so much of him. I mean,
Everybody.
I think we all have to, right?
Everybody. I mean, he's my guy, when it
It's a
comes down to it.
prerequisite,
Yeah,
right?
he's
But
my guy too.
so yeah, he's a huge influence, and so is George Benson. So I spent a ton of time. I mean, of course, Breezin' is such a landmark record, but I went through all of his records before that as well, and did a ton
George
of
or Wes or both.
transcribing. Yeah.
George or Wes or both. I guess both of them, right?
Yeah, yeah, both of them.
You
Yeah.
looked at both of them.
And so yeah, those are big influences on me. So yeah, I'm a really, firm believer in is I want to find that cross section of in contemporary jazz of having having a really great rhythm section, having a great groove as you mentioned, but then also having that vocabulary on top of that. And yeah, it's funny, the song you mentioned, Tokyo Groove, track 1 on the new
Hmm.
album. When I went into the studio, I actually told the gentleman playing on it, I said, "Hey, this is not a single. I want this to really just pop and really make a statement. It's
Yeah,
track 1 on the album. We're gonna play." And then my radio promoter just picked it as my next single.
I'm going to tell you, man. I'll confess, I put it on because I listened to, I listened to the top before when
Yeah.
you sent it to me and all that, but I hadn't heard the whole record. And I said,
Okay.
I'm going to listen to the whole record, or I think I listened to the whole record, and that cut came on the first thing, and it was like, yeah, okay, this. And so it's funny you say that you were deliberate about all of that,
Yeah.
because it's pretty happening. I mean, it's not pretty happening; it is happening.
Oh,
You do a great
you're so
job on it,
kind. Yeah,
and the
well,
band's playing. They're not
yeah.
they're playing.
And
It's
shout out to them, incredible rhythm section. They've been doing all of my records. Eric Valentine on drums and
mhm.
Nathaniel Kennedy Jr. He just relocated. He's in Atlanta now.
All
He's
right.
on bass, and Carnell Harrell on keyboards, and Ramon Islas on percussion. He tours with Chicago and David Sanborn and a bunch
Well,
of other people.
it
So
it shows, man, because that track. I mean, that was my favorite track of all of
oh,
them. I
thank
can
you.
see why the other tune is so popular, but that track was when I go, yeah. I dug it, and those guys are hot, and you played great on it. I mean, you played
Oh.
some, as they say on the street, you played some shit,
Oh.
man. So it was great. I loved it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, again, that song I was really wanting to push the envelope and like I said, make a statement.
You
And that's
did.
important to me. I want track 1 to really, I think of it's funny because we're so much in the digital age and people are like, oh, the record's dying and people aren't buying CDs. But you know what though, I have so many fans come to me and say, oh, I love being able to put it on from track 1 all the way to track 10. I don't have to hit skip. And so
Right.
I'm still a believer in that. The fans that dig deeper really do appreciate when you have really put some forethought into your programming, into your track order, and having some different vibes for them to kind of
Right.
jump on, and having a little bit for everybody. So I like having a song like that, Tokyo Groove, that's in your face, but then some more kind of like I have a samba tune, track 9, featuring Najee,
Yep. Yeah.
and
I was
that's
gonna.
one, again, I really wanted to do something different. And so it starts off as a Latin ballad essentially, but then ends up as at a samba at the end. And so we go through a lot of different just
Now, is
things
that the one with
throughout
the
that.
nylon guitar on it? Which
um
one's got the nylon guitar? Because
oh,
that
the
was pretty.
track 10, I'm playing steel string, and that's Rain. And
I thought there was a nylon on there. Is that
you
a
know
flat
what? I
top?
haven't recorded with nylon yet. There's so
Yeah, I
many
thought there was.
great nylon players, and so I figured, a little less. I do play a lot of nylon string for
Yeah.
sessions and whatnot, but I've yet to do it on one of my records yet.
Wow, the timbre of the instrument. I said, wow, he's playing a nylon because I have I like I have an affinity for nylon jazz.
Yeah.
I think it's really really cool. But that was a flat top you're playing.
Yeah, yeah. On there's a couple tracks I'm playing steel string, and like I said, you mentioned, me being deliberate. I was very deliberate in that because there's just to do something different. Same thing, with the guitar. I tend to play a semi hollow body, because so many people have done the L5 and the 175 and
Right.
the hollow body, and that's amazing and that's great and there's nothing wrong with it. But it's like when I went to make my first record, I was like, well, I definitely wanted to do quote unquote jazz guitar, but let me do something just a little different that's not as common. And so that's kind of a constant theme through not
Right.
only the composition but also
Absolutely.
tone choice and timbre.
Well, it's funny that you say that because when we conceived of the magazine, um, I'm a player myself,
Yeah.
and I wanted to incorporate all of the different instruments that
Hmm.
people play jazz on. I mean, Bakert played on a telly,
Yeah. Totally.
I've owned an L5. I still have a 17-inch archtop, but I'm looking at a Tele, a Strat, a Sur
Yeah.
Super Strat, you know, a 335. I've got pedal boards all over the place. I've got, you know, pedals in my hand. I mean, you know, and it's all about it. So we want to talk to the guy that plays, you know, the 17-inch archtop as much as the guy that plays the Tele, you know, 17-inch archtop,
Yeah.
solid state, you know, this amplifier with cable into, you know, into amp. And we want to talk to that guy, and we want to talk to the guy that's, you know, you know, Stratocaster with a pedal board and, you know, whatever it is, and you know, the whole
Yeah.
9 yards. And so you're kind of a, you know, there's a lot of the poster children, but you're definitely one of the guys, you know, in terms of the, you know, the modern, I'm going to call it modern. You know, Mike Stern's on the cover right now.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I'm
and
a huge fan.
Mike's
Amazing.
playing Mike's playing that Yamaha Tele,
Yeah.
if you will, and he's been using an SPX 90 forever.
Yep.
And, you know, I mean, his tone is anything but then you turn around and, you know, and a lot of the guys that we talk to, they've got that, that's the tone that we all grew up with and we still love. So it's not that one's better than the other. It's just that it's a big party. Let's have everybody get into the pool. You know, that's kind of how I feel about it. I want a lot of different angles and stuff like that. And even in the lessons that we, you know, that when all of the things that we ask people to contribute, you know, we want everybody from this is an E string to, you know, this is a, you know, as far up the ladder as you want to go.
Totally.
So I really dig that. It's great. So let's talk about your instruments a little bit.
Okay.
You're a PRS guy.
Yes, sir.
Beverly says hello.
Yes, we were just messaging earlier. So, what's up, Bev? And yeah, I've got it right here. This is the one I use. You know, I've been using it a ton. So I got
Show it to us.
I got connected with him back in 2012. Well, here, let me grab it.
Yeah, grab it.
So here we go. So this is a hollow body 2 from PRS, and
hang on one second. I want to make sure that I'm doing this right. So okay, go ahead. Yeah, it's a hollow body 2. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, so it's a hollow body 2 from PRS, and it's white for a very specific reason. I got connected with PRS back in 2012. I was on tour with Jennifer Lopez, and they wanted everything to be white. And I'm talking about the keyboards, the drums, the guitars, the stage.
You saw her New York City New Year's Eve show.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she did.
White.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, back in 2012, I did her world tour. It was called the Dance Again tour, and we did 5 continents.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, so I was in touch with Win at PRS, and I said, hey, I need to get some instruments, and I'd always wanted to connect with PRS, and and they need to be in white, and I just have to give them credit. They say, what do you need and when do you need it? I said, well, I need it yesterday. And man, they made it happen. So they had a few instruments for me to use during rehearsals, and then they got the white ones out. So this is one of them, and the other one I use quite a bit. I think it's downstairs. But it's a DGT, and I use that one quite a bit.
David Grissman model, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that guitar is great if I need to get a lot of different sounds. I mean, it can really do anything, and so can this one too. But definitely with it being a semi-hollow, I can get a nice jazz sound out of it. So yeah, so I've been using this, with my solo project nonstop, and it's just been.
Now, did you use both of those guitars on Escape, or did you use most of them?
No, so I'll primarily play this one, but if I'm out, there's been quite a few times where I've been out on tour and I go from one situation to another, like I'll fly from one gig to another.
Right.
And sometimes I need some more of those solid body sounds, and then the DGT also has a tremolo. So sometimes I'll only take that guitar. I try to just travel with one guitar. So if I need some more of those sounds, I'll take the DGT.
Right.
And if I'm doing primarily just the jazz guitar, then I'll bring this one. So I kind of switch back and forth between those two.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like your choice. What can I tell you? They make a great instrument. There's no doubt about
no
it.
question.
I don't really know Paul. I have shaken his hand a couple of times,
Yeah.
the meet and greet kind of thing. But I've always admired their dedication to quality and just,
Oh,
you
no
know,
question.
they and there are other people out there in the world that are that dedicated, but those are the people that inspire us all to keep doing it the best we possibly can. They're concerned about every little detail.
Oh,
And
for
I've
sure.
never picked up one of their instruments where I thought they made it on a Monday morning or a Friday afternoon. You know what
Right,
I'm
right.
saying? They're all really, really, top level. In fact, we're doing a review on one of their instruments right now, and
Okay.
I can't want to talk about too much about it,
Yeah.
but we love their stuff. And
Yeah.
so let's talk about amps and pedals and those kinds of things. Do you use pedals?
Sure. Oh yeah, and it just depends on the gig, So for
Hmm.
my personal Adam Hawley project, lately live I've been using the HX Stomp, and I just really have one preset. It just has a
Yeah.
delay pulled up and a reverb,
Hmm.
and that's about it. Because pretty much I'm doing jazz guitar 90% of the show. I also have a vocoder pedal that I really dig. I use that on a couple songs. It's the Boss VO1, really great pedal. And then I have a Crybaby Mini Wah on
Okay.
there in case I
Little guy about that big.
exactly, yeah, if I want to do some rhythm wah, or sometimes I'll use it on some leads too.
Yeah.
And then I also have an overdrive that I can kick in on the HX Stomp. So yeah, so I keep it pretty minimal because I want to be able to throw it in my suitcase, throw some
Right.
CDs in the suitcase, and roll, And so that's kind of the name of the game, is if you can be lean and mean. But
So,
when I'm on for sessions, I've got a much bigger pedal board with a bunch of different analog pedals.
mhm.
And you asked about amps. Most of the time, I'm using backline, so I'll ask for a Fender Twin or a Hot Rod DeVille 2x12. So those are my go-tos.
All right.
But if I do bring my gear, which is not that common, but occasionally in town, or if I have a session or something, my go-to is I have a divided by 13 FTR 37, which
Great
is
amp.
just really killer.
Yeah.
I also have a Fender Blues Deluxe, which is really, it's not like a super expensive amp, but every single time I take it to a session, people just love it.
I have a friend that has one of those things, and excuse my expression, but he pisses me off because it's not an expensive amp. And I could show you, I got a couple that are kind of
Yeah.
expensive, and we play together a fair amount. And he uses one of those, and it, the tone is just amazing what comes
Yeah.
out of that thing. We play a jam, and he brings that little thing,
Yep.
and it's just that is a deal for a tube amp if you're looking for that thing. It's a deal. It's
No
definitely got that vibe.
question.
I love
Yeah.
twins. I don't have a back for them anymore. I can't carry them around. But
Yeah.
if
And
somebody else is,
I own
somebody else
one,
is,
and I hurt my back moving it just as everyone else did. So I
yep,
almost never use it. Again, even if I'm playing in Southern California, there's usually backline. So it's just
sure.
rare. It's rare that I'm
Does yours have JBLs in it? Your
oh gosh,
twin?
that's a great question. It's whatever the stock
It's oh, okay. Because if you have JBLs, you would know it because they're another
oh
20, 30 pounds. I mean, that thing gets up to
oh
about
okay. Well,
100 pounds.
it's a reissue that I got in maybe 2004,
Oh, no, no,
2005.
no. The old
Yeah.
ones, like when I was a kid growing up,
Oh, okay.
playing, they would put those, orange back JBLs, and that thing. I mean, that thing weighed about 100 pounds. It was
Okay.
the heaviest. It's probably, if somebody knows the spec out there, it's probably 85 pounds. But I got to tell you,
Ooh.
80. And I'm not. That's not an exaggeration. That's a real number.
Wow.
But boy, you just can't beat that sound, and that
Yeah.
feel.
No.
It
It's
comes off that amp.
and that's usually that's the first choice. I ask for a twin just because you've got the headroom and you're not
Oh
worried
yeah.
about getting distortion when you don't want it.
No, no, it's
So no,
great.
it's great. And now that they have the reissues, it's funny when I first started touring back in 2008. My first touring gig, I was with the Manhattan Transfer, and we were touring all over the world. And back then, it was a little different. Even in 2008, a lot of old twins were still showing up in backline, and man, they'd be, someone had spilled a beer on it or thrown up on it, So they were like pretty unreliable. And so I started asking for the DeVille. But like now, fast forward 10, 12 years later, I can I can always get it seems like a reissue twin, and they're
Right.
always great and they're reliable. They sound the same, very consistent. So yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, just some of the people that you played with, because obviously
Yeah.
you're a huge success as a solo artist. You've established, your thing, and you're doing great. And I mean, you can't do better than, Song of the Year and Most
Oh,
Played. I mean,
thank you.
that's kind of the top of the mountain. So, but you're definitely an established, what I'm going to say, the pinnacle of the sidemen, if you will. What they. So you played with J Lo. I talk like I know
Yeah.
her. And then Manhattan Transfer, a couple of
Yeah.
big names. And who else would you like to mention that you've been on
Oh
a program?
gosh. Well, I'll go kind of chronological for you. As I just mentioned a second ago, Manhattan Transfer was the first gig, and that's a crazy story. I walked into school one day at USC, and Pat
Mhm.
Kelly was my teacher. Amazing guitarist, toured with George Benson, did a lot of TV shows, and anyways, he's like, "Hey, I got called for this tour. I can't do it." And so I went from playing around town, doing weddings and bar mitzvahs and whatnot to my first gig with them was at the Kennedy Center in Washington D.C. for
Oh
5,000
wow!
people with no rehearsal. So
Hello.
throwing it into the fire. But anyways, I spent 4 years with them, and then after that, Natalie Cole,
Oh
Jennifer
God.
Lopez, Sheila E., Layla Hathaway. Who else? Joss Stone, Backstreet
Any
Boys.
anybody that we would know?
Oh, just a few, just a few. The most recent would be Brian McKnight. I filled in for a good friend of mine and did quite a few shows with him, and then a ton of contemporary jazz artists too: Dave Koz, Gerald Albright, Brian
Sure.
Culbertson, Huge Groove, Kirk Whalum. So yeah, and then a lot of
You're
TV and film all the way through there. So I feel fortunate. It's been a really fun ride for sure.
you know what? You work hard. You're talented. You're gifted, and you apply yourself. And everybody that I've talked to about you says what a great guy you are.
Oh
So
wow.
I mean,
We didn't get the
you got a lot of fans out there, not only for your playing, but for your character and your personality. So, because that's a big deal, as you know.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, no, you're welcome. So what we're listening to is
Sounds
to
like
the
to the top.
to the top. So let me play that lick that I wanted, Tokyo Groove. This is the lick I was talking about. Okay.
Okay.
I got to turn this one off. Now, for the people that are going to be watching this thing, I just think this is pretty cool stuff. So there you go. Oh yeah, come on. Yeah, there's some attitude there, man. We can't play it all, but I want to give people
Appreciate it.
little hit of that, because that's not, like I said, that's damn good, man. That really is. That's
Appreciate
great.
it. And I apologize sincerely. I neglected to mention also David Mann on the horn arrangement. He's a cat out of New York. And
It's incredible.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the horns are
he's amazing.
they're kicking it. I mean, it's so. I guess we're going to kind of come to an end here, but this is great. Is there something you'd like to bring up I haven't brought up? Have I covered the bases?
Oh gosh. Oh, you know what would be great to mention is yeah, definitely with the pandemic, all the live
Mhm.
shows are on pause, but
Of course.
I found a way to keep in touch with everybody. I've been doing a weekly Facebook show.
Oh,
It's
all
on
right.
my on Adam Hawley artist page, and I've had some incredible guests. And so definitely would love everybody to tune in. It's every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we go live every week with new guests, new music, and
I love it.
so yeah, having a lot of fun with that. So definitely hope people will tune in.
We're gonna just it's a little bit of homework here, a little bit of back thing. We're gonna get in touch with you and get some of those URLs and some of that
Awesome.
information, so we can include that in the piece. Listen, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. It's an honor and a pleasure to talk to you. I mean, I admire a lot of things. One is, I'm in school myself.
Mm.
I'm studying acting right now, and you know, I'm a little older than you, a little. Um, and I went back to school for jazz guitar in 2013 after I started playing when I was like 9.
Okay.
And you know, so I'm like, I've been going to college since I was, you know, since the 70s. You know, I just
Okay.
keep, you know, I just
Hey.
want to learn. I want to learn. I want to learn. I want. If I don't know how to do something, I go find somebody that does and have them show me. And
Totally.
so I totally admire your dedication to that, because not only are you an academic, which you are, and you still teach, and we didn't even
Yep.
get into that, but you know, you're an academic, but you're a player.
Mm.
You're an artist, you know, you're a creator, you know, you're a producer, you know, you're doing all those things. And you know what, to make a living today in the arts, unless you're, you know, George Benson, you know, it's hard. It's a fight. You got to do everything, and you're doing it. And you, congratulations to you, man. It's great.
Oh,
I'm happy for your success, and I just think it's wonderful. So
I
for the
appreciate
people
it.
myself and my colleagues at Jazz Guitar today, we really, really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And we'll do this again, you know, when you got some more stuff, and I'm sure we'll
Definitely.
have things we want to talk about. Hey, if you ever want to send a lesson or something our way, you know, just say, hey, man, this is a little thing I'm doing. This is pretty cool,
Yeah,
or whatever you want to do, man.
for sure. No, I appreciate you so much for the support. And yeah, let's connect again soon.
That'd be great. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it,
All
man.
right.
Or
Thank
excuse me.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Hawley.
Thanks
Bye bye now.
so
Bye.
much.